the proof of his love as not something abstract, but something very concrete, something very real, where God was so humble, so selfless, as to enter into the depths of distress in order to be able to express to us in our times of greatest need that he is with us. Emmanuel, God made man, not simply a godly man, but the creator of the cosmos who chose to be crucified in order to give us the fullness of life. Remember Jesus there, while hanging on the cross, looked upon all of the people who had caused him this pain, and yet he knew that there was purpose in his pain. He knew that these scars wouldn't be in vain. He knew that these wounds would produce well springs. He knew that from this brokenness would come forth a new beauty. And so he had the power of a supernatural faith in his sacred humanity to accept it, to lean into it, to actually embrace it. One of my favorite parts of The Passion of the Christ, the movie by Mel Gibson, is when Jesus is given his cross, he kisses it, he accepts it. And in that other striking moment, when he's on his way to Calvary and he sets his face like flint, which means Jesus had determination to not give up, to know that this was a part of God's plan and God was going to produce a tremendous harvest, bring great results out of this sacrifice, great success in an unexpected way, the ultimate success of our salvation. So he set his face like flint. He had determination. And as he's going up that path, that mountain to Calvary, in the movie, it depicts him showing him meeting his mother along the way, the most important woman in his life. And as he's about to fall, his mother comes to him, and in this artistic depiction, he sees his mother in her solidarity, sharing in his mission. Every step of the way, from conception to crucifixion to ascension, Mary is sharing in his mission. She's there, hidden, humble, but sharing perfectly in the plan of his son. And what does he say to her? They take that passage from the book of Revelation, what Jesus spoke after his victory, and they applied it to his passion. And in the midst of what he had to go through, he's already claiming the victory in advance. Even before he had tangible taste of it, he's already claiming the victory. He's already pointing to the triumph in the midst of the mess, of the misery. And he says to his mother, with total affection, I make all things new. Sometimes when God is ready to bring about something divinely new in our lives, to give us new wine, he has to prepare the way by allowing us to be given new wineskins, new capacities, conversion, new experiences that can make us at times feel crushed. And in the midst of this being crushed like wheat or like grapes, in order to become the bread and the wine that they're meant to be for the sacrifice of Calvary renewed, in order for this wine and this bread to become what it is as an instrument of God's blessing, it first had to be crushed. And sometimes in our lives, we have to pass through some difficult times in order for God to bring a new level of greatness in us. God's greatness comes about as a result of the wisdom and power of his cross. Once we've embraced it and accepted it and allow God to bring good out of it. While we're going through it, as the book of Hebrews says in chapter 12, it doesn't feel good. For most of us, we might drag our cross. For most of us, we might even complain like the Israelites in the desert because we don't understand why this is happening. This does not meet our expectations. It doesn't seem to be the reflection of God's faithfulness and goodness. And yet he's there behind the scenes, disguised, silent, waiting to release his blessing. And like the book of Hebrews says, all discipline while we're going through it doesn't seem like a blessing at all. But eventually, it produces a harvest. It brings healing. It brings wholeness, a greater share in God's holiness. And as a common expression in pop culture says, it's better the pain than to remain the same. Oftentimes, we've learned our best lessons through our hardest times. And somehow, when we look back, it makes us appreciate the hardest things we've ever had to go through, because it makes us the person that we are now. And hopefully, it even brings us closer to God. As we said, we're free to choose. There's two lives before us, life and death. And when we're at a crossroads, when we have to face the cross, the choice is ours. If we're gonna choose life or choose death, if we're gonna choose accepting the cross or getting angry at God for the cross. It takes faith to be saved.